Okay, so let's get into it. We're doing a deep dive today into, well, a market that might sound a bit specific at first glance. We're talking about insert trays.
Right. And, sometimes these seemingly niche markets can actually tell us quite a bit.
Exactly. About global manufacturing, consumer trends, that sort of thing. We've got this market forecast report. It looks ahead, projecting all the way out to 2033. So our mission today really is to unpack the numbers in this report, figure out where the growth is actually happening globally and regionally, identify the big shifts, and, well, see if there are any surprises hidden in the data. What's the bigger picture here? Let's explore that together.
And looking closely at market forecasts like this one, I mean, even for a specific component like insert trays, it's really valuable to take historical data, analyze current trends, and use that to project future possibilities. It helps us anticipate, shifts and opportunities in an industry, like using a map for the future landscape almost.
Before we really dive into the data, though, maybe we should just quickly clarify what insert trays are, because the name itself might not immediately click for everyone listening.
Oh, sure. Good point. Think about like the molded plastic thing inside a box of chocolates that holds each chocolate perfectly.
Right.
Or the tray that organizes electronic parts in their packaging. They're also used a lot in medical kits, holding instruments neatly, or in retail packaging displaying products securely. Essentially, they're custom-shaped trays designed to hold specific items inside larger packaging.
Got it. Okay. So a pretty fundamental piece of packaging, really, for a huge range of products. All right. With that context, let's start high level. The global view from this report, what do the overall numbers tell us?
So the report shows the global insert tray market. Its sales revenue was just over $1.28 billion back in 2021.
Wow. Okay. That's already a pretty significant market size.
It is, and the forecast shows steady growth from there. It's expected to hit 1.6 billion by 2025 and then keep expanding to nearly $2.5 billion by 2033. Over that whole period, 2021 to 2033, that works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CGR of 5.7%.
5.7%. That sounds like a healthy, consistent growth trajectory for the market overall.
Yep, exactly. Pretty solid.
So where is this growth coming from? Let's maybe drill down region by region, starting with, say, North America.
Okay, North America, yeah, it was a major player in 2021, valued at over $412 million, and is projected to grow to more than $762 million by 2033. That gives it a regional TGR of 5.318%.
Which is pretty much right in line with the global average then.
Exactly.
Very close.
And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the main driver.
Correct. The United States led the way, definitely. Over 345 million in 2021. Projected to more than double, actually, to over 627 million by 2033. It's a CAGR of 5.174%.
Okay. And Canada.
Canada follows, growing from about 54 million to nearly 88 million over the same time frame. Its CAGR is a little lower, though, around 4.33%. But hang on, looking closely at these North American numbers, there's a real standout here. Mexico. The report shows Mexico growing from, just under 13 million in 2021 to over 48 million by 2033.
Yeah.
That growth comes with a CAGR of 9.842%. That's, almost double the regional average.
It is. It's a clear hotspot, right?
Yeah.
Accelerated growth within the continent shows strong potential there.
Interesting. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic. Europe.
Right, Europe. Its market was valued around 355 million in 2021, forecasted to reach over 650 million in 2033. The regional CAGR there is 5.253%. So again, tracking pretty closely with the global trend.
And who are the big players in Europe?
Germany was the largest market in 2021, nearly $69 million. That's projected to reach over 115 million by 2033. The CAGR is 4.606%.
Okay.
Then you have France, the UK, Italy, also significant markets, projected to be somewhere between $60 and $87 million by 2033. Some smaller countries like Luxembourg and Denmark, they show lower projected growth rates, CGRs around 1.5 to 2.2%.
Now, here's where the European data gets, really interesting, just like with Mexico. The report lumps together a lot of the smaller markets into a rest of Europe category. And the growth in that segment is kind of staggering.
It is striking, yeah.
It grew from just about 3.2 million in 2021 to a projected, get this, almost $110 million by 2033.
Wow.
The CAGR for that rest of Europe group is a massive 15.749%.
That's an incredibly high growth rate for an aggregate category like that.
Yeah,
It definitely catches the eye.
It really does.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
High growth rate for an aggregate category like that.
Yeah,
It definitely catches the eye.
It really does. Okay, let's keep moving. Asia Pacific.
Okay, APAC, another substantial market. Started at 333 million in 2021, projected to hit over 613 million in 2033. The regional CGR there is 5.226%.
Yeah.
Again, very much in line with the global average.
And China's the dominant force in APAC, I'm guessing?
It is, yeah. China led with about 117 million in 2021, expected to reach almost 208 million by 2033. Its CAGR is 4.882%.
Okay.
India and Japan are the next largest markets if you look at the projected 2033 values. India at about 83 million, Japan around 99 million.
And here we go again. We see one of those rest of region categories just exploding. The rest of APAC numbers are really quite something. A KGR of 18.376%, growing from about 4.7 million in 2021 to over 72 million by 2033. That growth rate is even higher than the rest of Europe.
It's a real standout figure in the report, absolutely. It points to really rapid expansion in those aggregated markets.
Okay. What about further south? South America.
South America, it's a smaller market overall, growing from about 87 million in 2021 to nearly 130 million by 2033. The regional CAGR is lower here, 3.612%.
And the lead country.
Brazil's projected to lead the region, about 53.6 million in 2033.
But following the pattern we're seeing, the rest of South America.
You guessed it, shows significantly higher growth than the regional average, a THR of 9.951%. Going from roughly 3.4 million up to 15.4 million.
So it's not the highest absolute CAGR we've seen, but compared to the regional average, it's another strong signal.
Precisely. That pattern is becoming pretty clear.
Okay, Middle East.
The Middle East market saw more modest growth, increasing from 64 million in 2021 to nearly 85 million by 2033. It actually registered the lowest regional CAGR at 2.642%.
Right.
Saudi Arabia is the largest market there, projected around 24.8 million in 2033. Countries like Turkey and the UAE show some growth, but again,
Let me guess. Rest of the Middle East.
they had a higher CGR,
Yeah.
6.904%. Still notable compared to the region's overall very low number.
Okay, saving one of the, well, based on growth rates, one of the most interesting regions for last, Africa.
Africa, yes indeed. It's projected as one of the fastest growing regions globally for insert trays. Now, it starts from a smaller base, obviously, around 29.5 million in 2021, but it's projected to expand dramatically to over $251 million by 2033.
Wow.
That represents a very high regional CGR of 13.787%.
That is a massive jump in market size over that period. Who's driving that growth within Africa?
Well, Nigeria is projected to lead the region, over 110 million in market size by 2033, followed by South Africa at over 93 million.
Okay, big numbers there.
Yeah.
And the rest of Africa?
And reinforcing the pattern we've been talking about, yeah. The rest of Africa category shows incredible growth, going from about 4.7 million to nearly 48.6 million. That reflects a 15.188% CAGR. Very high again.
Okay, so let's try and connect these pieces. What's the big story here? We see steady, healthy overall global growth for insert trays over the next decade, around 5.7%.
Right.
But the really striking acceleration, the super high growth rates, they aren't necessarily in the biggest, most established markets like the US, Germany, or China. I mean, those markets show solid growth, don't get me wrong.
Really, they're still the backbone.
But we're seeing these remarkably high CAGRs, like 15%, 18% in these aggregated rest of region categories across Europe, APAC, South America, and especially Africa.
Yeah, and this pattern, it's probably not just random noise in the data, right? It strongly suggests there's some kind of fundamental shift potentially underway. This rapid expansion in these combined rest of regions points towards manufacturing or maybe consumption growth centers, emerging or accelerating in areas that aren't traditionally the top-tier markets within those continents.
So these smaller, faster-growing segments, they couldn't be signaling the rise of new production hubs or maybe rapidly expanding consumer bases, driving up demand for packaged goods that need these insert trays.
Exactly. That's a very plausible interpretation. It highlights that while the established markets, they continue their expansion, significant future opportunities, maybe even disruptions, might be bubbling up in places that often just get grouped together in these broad reports.
Right. It encourages us to look beyond just the headline countries.
Definitely. Look deeper.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, looking at these trends from the report?
Well, I think it means that understanding market dynamics isn't just about watching the biggest players. It's also about identifying and really exploring these high-growth segments that are starting from smaller bases. They could represent the sort of leading edge of some pretty significant changes in global manufacturing or consumer economies, and that could impact supply chains, market strategies, over the next decade. So maybe here's a final thought to mull over Based on this data we've looked at, as markets mature in some of the established areas, where do you think the next significant engines of growth will appear globally? And not just for insert trays, but maybe for lots of other manufactured goods. And how might looking closely at these smaller, fast-growing segments like rest of Africa or rest of APAC, how might that give us a powerful glimpse into that future landscape?
That's a fantastic question to leave people with. It really shows how taking a deep dive into specific data points, even for something seemingly as simple as an insert tray, can potentially reveal much bigger economic or industrial trends about where the world might be heading. Definitely something to keep exploring in your own areas of interest.
Okay, let's get into this. Today we're doing a deep dive on something, well, something you probably handle way more than you realize.
Okay.
But you likely never, give it a second thought, the insert tray.
Right, that little custom bit inside the box, plastic, cardboard maybe, keeping things in place. Seems super simple.
It really does. But the source material we're digging into today, this detailed report on the insert tray market, it shows just how, well, complex and kind of dynamic this component is.
Yeah, it's fascinating actually in modern packaging logistics.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Yeah, it's fascinating actually in modern packaging logistics. It's a key piece.
Exactly. So our mission here is to quickly unpack that report, pull out the really key drivers pushing things forward,
Yeah.
the restraints kind of holding it back, and some surprising trends that are popping up. Turns out these trays, way more interesting than they look.
They really are. So let's dive in. The report makes it clear one of the biggest drivers, it's the basic need for product protection.
Makes total sense. I mean, think about e-commerce, right? It's exploded, and packages get handled so many times before they even get to your door. Damage is a huge, huge issue.
Yeah, the report really hammers that point, how vital these trays are for stopping things breaking, especially, electronics, cosmetics, fragile stuff.
Fewer breaks mean fewer returns, happier customers. That's massive for businesses.
And it's not just stopping damage, is it? There's this whole unboxing experience thing the report talks about.
Yeah, right. Brands are really investing in that moment. You open the box, trying to make it feel, I don't know, premium.
It's basically become a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Custom trays, perfect fit, maybe even printed with logos.
Yeah, it turns opening a box from just, getting your stuff out into a bit of a reveal. Super important for direct-to-consumer brands, luxury items.
And then there's sustainability. You can't ignore that pressure.
Absolutely not. The report flags a pretty big shift there.
Manufacturers are increasingly looking at eco-friendly stuff.
Like recycled paperboard, molded pulp that's like mashed up recycled paper, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or biodegradable options. Trying to move away from single-use plastics where it makes sense. That's a major driver changing material choices.
Okay, so those are big pushes forward, but there are challenges, hurdles, too.
Oh, definitely. The report points to cost as a significant restraint, specifically around tooling and production.
Ah, tooling. Yeah, for those really custom molded trays, you need specific molds made, right?
Precisely. And that equipment, the tooling, it can be pretty expensive up front.
Especially tough for maybe smaller companies.
Yeah.
Or products that don't have huge production runs.
Exactly. And then there's just the practical stuff, space and weight.
Right. Even a lightweight tray adds some weight. It takes up some room inside the main box.
And the report notes it can bump up shipping costs. So maybe less appealing for industries, really focused on minimal, super light packaging.
Okay. And material limits, still a thing.
Still a factor, yeah. If you've got really heavy items or weird shapes or things sensitive to moisture,
Standard trays might not cut it.
right, you might need more complex, maybe more expensive solutions. Okay, so we've got the drivers, the restraints. But the report also highlights some really interesting trends emerging despite the challenges.
Yeah, this is where it gets kind of cool.
The whole idea of integrating trays with smart tech, that really stood out.
Yes. So some companies are embedding things like sensors or QR codes or even NFC tags.
Like the little chips you tap your phone on.
Exactly. Right into the tray itself.
So the tray stops being just passive packaging. It becomes active.
Precisely. Think about it for tech, pharmaceuticals, high-value items. You get traceability, authentication, fighting fakes, or even digital instructions just by scanning the tray. It's changing the whole function.
Wow. And like everywhere else, reusability is cropping up too.
Yes, especially in B2B logistics. That's business-to-business shipping.
So components going factory to factory, not direct to us.
Right. In those closed-loop systems, having durable, returnable trays just makes sense, economically and environmentally. cuts down waste, saves money long term.
And to manage all this complexity that custom fits, the tech integration automation must be stepping up.
Definitely. The report shows more investment in automated design, automated manufacturing.
So companies can churn out complex custom trays faster,
Yeah.
more efficiently.
Keeps up with demand, allows for variety without, crazy manual labor costs.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you listening. That simple bit of packaging you might just crumple and toss.
Yeah. Without a second thought.
It's sitting right at the intersection of some major forces: market demand, tech innovation, sustainability.
It's actually pretty fundamental. Making sure stuff you order online arrives safe, shaping how you feel about a brand.
And increasingly being designed with the planet in mind, sometimes even giving you digital info.
It really is performing multiple roles now.
So here's something to think about. How much innovation is happening inside the box? In these bits you barely notice.
Yeah, these seemingly simple pieces are crucial. Fighting damage, integrating tech, pushing reusability.
Makes you wonder what other hidden parts of our daily lives are quietly going through this kind of complex evolution.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.